hadn't met many people outside his department yet. But that's all we were, friends. There had been no repeat of the toe-curling lip lock we'd engaged in at the beach. Jake would occasionally greet me or leave me with a goodbye kiss, but they were friend kisses, not the lover kind. And yes, as stupid as it was, part of me was disappointed. One Saturday morning in mid-June began like every other, with a quick jaunt to coffee before opening B goods. The sun shone brightly, casting a cheerful glow over the store awnings lining Melrose Avenue. It was going to be a gorgeous day, I thought, with a smile as I waited at the corner to cross the street. I spotted Jake and Mac near the coffee shop entrance and automatically lifted my hand to wave, but stopped when I saw there was another man with them. A tall, dark, dreamy man, no less. I froze. The voyeur in me wanted to observe them from afar and figure out who he was and why he was with Jake. I hated the surge of envy I felt. I was an idiot. We were friends, not lovers. Our past lives didn't count in the here and now. I had no right to feel possessive. Besides, I wasn't about to skip my caffeine fix any day of the week for anyone. I stepped into the street as the light turned yellow and was forced to run to the other side to avoid being flattened by a Jeep turning the corner at high speed. I heard the screech of tires at the same time Jake yelled my name, and a strong hand on my arm tugged me to safety at the last possible second. My pulse was racing. Adrenaline coursed through me, making me feel dizzy and unsteady on my feet. I stood with my hand over my heart, trying to catch my breath. I was aware of voices and concerned faces around me, but I couldn't seem to focus.
"You okay?"
The voice was deep and masculine, but it wasn't Jake's. I looked up, intending to thank my rescuer. What did one do when saved from being run over? Offering to buy him a cup of coffee seemed feeble at best. All thoughts fled when I set eyes on one of the most stunningly attractive men I'd ever seen. The tall, dark, handsome man walking with Jake was magazine cover model material. Like me, he was part African-American, part Caucasian. Unlike me, however, he was built like a brick house. And those eyes, they were the palest shade of green. His symmetrical jaw and high cheekbones sealed the deal. Gorgeous. I gave him a weak smile and nodded. Unfortunately, I also spoke. "Coffee?" "Hey, are you okay?" "Fuck, that was scary. That idiot was going way too fast, but what were you thinking? The light was about to change. You were this close to being flattened." Jake's expression was the perfect mixture of concern and irritation. He gave me a good once-over and shook his head in frustrated exasperation.
I take it you know each other?"
The hunk next to me asked with a puzzled grin. "Yeah, Derek, this is Brandon. Bran, this is Derek." Jake's introduction was harried, as though he were distracted and perhaps had the same extra dose of adrenaline running through his bloodstream as me. I, on the other hand, caught on right away. Derek was the ex. Holy moly. Talk about an awkward moment. I looked from Jake to Derek and back again before deciding Mac was my best bet to escape this confrontation with any shred of dignity. "Hi, Mac. How's your morning going?" Jake narrowed his eyes in disbelief. "His morning has been much less dangerous than yours. Jesus, Bran. I think it just took 10 years off my life." I was getting coffee."
"You mentioned that."
Derek intervened when he saw Jake was about to scold me again.
"Can we buy you a cup?"
"We?" Interesting. I didn't know what was going on, but my curiosity was piqued. I'd been rescued by Jake and his extraordinarily handsome ex, who he must have been on friendlier terms than he'd alluded to. I certainly wouldn't spend a random Saturday morning with Trevor if I could help it. Were they getting back together? I had to fight the gnawing jealousy from taking over and try to find out what was going on. Jake spoke before I had a chance to answer Derek. "Yeah. Come on, those people are leaving that table under the umbrella."
You sit with Mac outside and we'll bring you a coffee. Want a croissant, too?
His words were rushed and agitated as he guided me by the arm. Sure. Thank you. I absently took Mac's leash and sat in the chair Jake indicated.
How do you like it? Do you want room for sugar?
I know how he likes it, Jake said as he pushed open the door to the coffee shop. Derek tossed a bemused look between us, but gamely followed Jake inside. Mac, what is happening here? I petted his soft fur, chuckling when his ears perked up as he cocked his head to the side quizzically. I scooted the chair slightly so I'd have a partial view inside the store, and squinted to get a better look. Jake was at the counter. He pointed at the pastries and then turned to say something to Derek, who moved in closer, setting his hand on the small of Jake's back. My heart sank. Fuck, I was an idiot. I didn't want Jake. He was my friend only, so why was I suddenly sick to my stomach? Coffee and a croissant no longer sounded appetizing. I bit my lip hard as I worked to get my emotions under control. When they emerged a few minutes later, I gave them a wide smile and greeting. Jake's wrinkled brow told me I was less than successful at playing it cool. He set a to-go cup and a croissant in front of me and squeezed my shoulder before taking the seat next to mine. Derek took the chair on Jake's other side, moving it a few inches so their arms touched. I watched a strange, synchronized dance as Jake popped open the lid of his cup and Derek passed him a few packs of sugar. Then he handed him a stirrer. Jake took each item as it came. He opened the sugar, poured an obscene amount in the cup, and stirred it well before replacing the top. He sat back in his chair and tilted his head to the side, immediately reminding me of Mac, I thought with amusement. Jake had no clue he'd stepped into a role, a habit. There was an absent-mindedness to the gestures which made me believe neither man was aware of the routine. They were even dressed alike in khaki cargo shorts, though their snug-fitting T-shirts were different colors. Jake's was blue and Derek's was green. Maybe they were re-establishing. I don't know why the thought depressed me, but I had to get over it. Thanks for coming to my rescue. I'm not usually so reckless. I guess
No thanks necessary. Glad you made it safely to the other side,
Derek said with a wry grin. Barely, Jake snorted. He gave me a pointed stare as he reached down to absently pet Mac's head.
Leave the guy alone, babe.
Derek took a sip of his drink but kept his eyes on mine.
So, how do you two know each other?
Two things. First of all, he called Jake Dave. It was an offhanded term of endearment, probably along the same vein as passing him sugar. It fell so easily from his tongue. I doubted he knew he used the word. And secondly, he was definitely sizing me up. He was as curious about me as I was about him.
We went to high school together.
Jake's tone was matter-of-fact.
Really? How did you meet up again? I don't recall you mentioning Brandon before, and I certainly would have remembered meeting him.
Derek leaned back in his chair and snapped his fingers to get Mac's attention. Mac dutifully rose and went to Derek's side. There was a possessive quality to the command, as though Derek was staking a claim. Interesting. I took a sip of coffee and looked at Jake. He seemed slightly uncomfortable now that the excitement of my near miss with a Jeep had passed. He ran his hand through his hair carelessly and offered Derek a look I had no hope of translating. It was private. I felt like I was watching a foreign film. I could see something was happening between the characters, but I didn't know the language.
We met by chance a couple months ago. Bran owns a home store on Melrose, just around the corner. Small world.
Derek's full mouth curled in a ghost of a smile. Sure seems like it, I agreed with a grin. A glance at my watch told me I had less than 20 minutes till I needed to open B goods. If I were going to get any info, I had to start asking questions. These two were obviously not sharers, So, Derek, are you visiting for the weekend? He chuckled weakly, but damn, it was a sexy sound. The man exuded an effortless sensuality that was seriously hypnotic.
I drove down from Oxnard this morning and...
He glanced at Jake, who'd turned all his attention to Mac.
I'm not sure how long I'm staying. We'll see.
Full customer. I wasn't going to get anything from him, and the tension at this tiny outdoor table was a little too thick for me to enjoy my coffee. I'd have to grill Jake later. It was time to retreat. I stood and offered Derek a hand. Well, enjoy your day in fabulous WeHo. It was nice meeting you, Derek. Thanks for the coffee. Oh, yeah, and for saving my life, I added with a shrug. I don't know how to properly say thank you for that, but...
No need to thank me. You're fine. And that's all that matters. Nice to meet you, Brandon.
Derek smiled at me kindly and shook my hand. I leaned over to pet Mac and gave Jake a pointed look before heading up the street to work. See ya, Jake. I didn't get far. Jake called my name, hurrying after me as I neared the corner. I stopped and waited for him to navigate around a group of tourists. He grabbed my elbow and pursed his lips together thoughtfully, as though he had no idea what to say now we were sort of alone. You sure you're okay? Yeah. Embarrassed, but fine. So, he's the ex, huh? I shot a quick look toward the table to see Derek sneak a piece of croissant to Mac. I felt that same flash of ridiculous jealousy. My beautiful, bright Saturday morning was turning into a fucking nightmare. Between nearly being run over, then saved by my ex's ex, then feeling jealous of the gorgeous man's relationship with a dog I'd become very fond of, there was no denying I was feeling like the odd man out. It was stupidly childish, but hell, this was my neighborhood, damn it. Yeah. He's hot. I almost looked at the divine Derek again, but caught myself in time. Jake gave a humorless half laugh. Right. I didn't expect him, and... Are you around later? I don't know. I'll call you. Jake gave me a lopsided smile and leaned in to kiss my cheek. Oh, and Bran? Mm-hmm. Wait for the light, and for the hell of it, look both ways before you cross the street. He turned away before I could think of a snappy comeback. My mood was off the rest of the day. Unfortunately, I didn't have the type of job where I could bury my head in computer work and hide from the public. I had to paste a smile on my face and act like I gave a shit about which color lampshade best complemented the fabulous new patterned pillows strewn across the generous sofa in the middle of the store. Today, I truly didn't give a fuck. I wanted the day over so I could go dancing and lose myself in loud music and a techno beat. I didn't want to think about Jake or why his ex was in town or whether or not he was spending the night. It wasn't my business at all. Jake's ex-boyfriend's sudden reappearance was a wake-up call. It was time to sever ties with my past once and for all. Jake was a nice guy with a great dog, and yeah, I was definitely infatuated. Red lights had been flashing since he'd first walked into my store 2 months ago, but I'd ignored my personal creed to never revisit the past. I was an idiot. If you keep checking your watch, I'm going to start thinking you don't like my company. Lorenzo sing-songed playfully as he folded a stack of linens in the back room. 5 o'clock. 1 more hour. I gave him a vague smile as I fingered the edges of the fabric. Just one of those days. Don't worry, your company makes everything worthwhile, though. Thank you for being you. No need to thank me, he said, fluttering his eyelashes. The flippant reply was exactly the same response Derek had made earlier after saving my ass. The memory made my skin itch uncomfortably. 59 minutes, I thought, glancing at my cell phone. I wished I were a runner suddenly. I had so much excess energy I felt flustered and